Barristers spend their lives in court representing other people. Happily for them, it is seldom their lot to attend court for any other reason. That, however, is not the lot of Morris Downing, who with others is appearing in Fulchester Crown Court in answer to criminal charges.
And the particulars are that on the 1st of August 1975 at Absley near Fulchester, you had in your possession a quantity of a controlled drug, namely cannabis. How say you, Janes? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Davitt?
Guilty.
Mills?
Guilty.
On the third count, you Bella Ann Janes, you Margot Scylla Davitt, you Patrick John Mills, and you Morris Downing are charged with cultivating cannabis contrary to Section 6 of the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971. And the particulars are that between November 1973 and August 1975, at Absley and Fulchester, you did cultivate cannabis. How say you, Janes? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Davitt?
Not guilty.
Mills?
Guilty.
Downing?
What's that child doing in court?
She's mine. They wouldn't let me bring her into this pen or whatever it is we're standing in.
I told them to take it out, Your Honour.
Take it out. Yes.
How say you, Downing? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
On the fourth count, you Morris Downing are charged with permitting premises to be used for smoking of cannabis contrary to Section 8 of the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971. And the particulars are that between November 1973 and August 1975, you, being the occupier of premises known as Feather Cottage, Absley near Fulchester, knowingly permitted the smoking of cannabis on those premises. To that charge, do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Very well. Sit down.
Your Honour, I appear on behalf of the Crown in this case. My learned friend, Mr. Lowry, appears on behalf of the accused Janes. My learned friend, Mr. Bloom, appears on behalf of Mills and Downing. Mrs. Davitt is unrepresented. Your Honour, I am content to accept the plea of not guilty tendered by Janes and Davitt on count 3. Downing has, of course, pleaded not guilty in all counts.
Yes, very well. Mr. Downing, as you've probably been told, we're going to sentence your co-accused. Now, you'll be released on bail in the meantime on the same terms as before. You're free to go. I dare say, like all members of the legal profession, you have a great deal to do.
I'm much obliged, Your Honour, but I'll stay if I may. I've arranged with my clerk to keep the whole week free.
Mrs. Davitt, I understand that you're not legally represented. I want to make it quite clear that representation under the legal aid scheme is available to you if you so wish it.
Thank you. I prefer to speak for myself.
Very well. Mr. Parsons?
Your Honour, the drug offences all occurred at one address at Absley near Fulchester. That is, at a property called the Feathers, owned by Morris Downing. Apparently, Downing lives in London and uses this house only at weekends.
Yes, can you help me about one thing, Mr. Parsons, and that is how Mr. Downing became acquainted with the three accused. I mean, one can't help but be curious as to how a distinguished practitioner at the Chancery Bar became connected with these three people.
Well, as Your Honour observes, they do make a curious menage. Bella Janes is 18 with 2 previous convictions for shoplifting. Mrs. Davitt is 28, a divorced woman and a freelance journalist, also with previous convictions for shoplifting. Patrick Mills is 24. He's been a registered heroin addict for 6 years. He has numerous convictions and is at present on a suspended sentence for burglary. But quite how they came to be associated, Your Honour, I'm afraid I cannot say.
Well, perhaps someone else will tell us in due course.
Your Honour, these offences came to light in a curious way. On Friday, the 1st of August at 1 p.m., Sergeant Sills and woman P.C. Tucker were attending to a matter at an address in Nightingale Lane, Fulchester, when they came out and found the accused, Mills, sitting in the driving seat of their police car. They asked him what he was doing, and he said he was taking it to the police pound because it was parked in a yellow line. They told him to get out of the car, and he said, "Not until the snow stops." Now, Your Honour may remember that the 1st of August was in fact the second day of the second test match, and the temperature was well in the 80s.
Drugged.
Indeed, Your Honour. Policewoman Tucker told him to move over to the passenger seat, and he replied, "Wow, baby, you have missed your vacation. You should not cover up your body in that uniform. You should be a movie star."
He didn't make any sense at all, in fact.
Indeed not, Your Honor. They invited him to go to the police station with them, and he replied, "I'd like to come, but I'm afraid I'm too busy today." They then said they were taking him to the police station, and he said, "My friend Daddy Morris is a big lawyer in town, and he'll put you in trust." At the police station, he attempted to give the sergeant a potted plant.
What, a cannabis plant?
No, Your Honor, a begonia, I believe. Sergeant Sills noticed that the pupils of his eyes were dilated, and he asked him if he had been taking drugs, and he replied, "My friend Daddy Morris, the big lawyer, says I should never talk to the piggies. He says I should just admire them from afar."
Yes, piggies meaning police.
Yes, Your Honor. Mills then said, "If you want to know where we grow the stuff, I will show you." Sergeant Sills said, "What do you mean, cannabis?" To which Mills replied, "Wow, you're a smarty pants."
Yes, he behaved, in fact, as if he was trying deliberately to draw attention to his offences.
Indeed, Your Honor, the police had no suspicion of any of this, and probably would not have done so had Mills not drawn their attention to it. Yeah, they asked him where the cannabis was, and he replied, "In the garden and in the sky at Daddy Morris's." And when he was asked who he meant when he said we grow the stuff, he said, "Daddy Morris and me, we're a big team, we fly real high."
Yes, well, I don't think there's anything else more material in the interview, or just simply more mumbo-jumbo from Mills.
Indeed, Your Honor, he was clearly in a confused and near euphoric state. After subsequent questioning, he was taken to Downing's house at Absley. Downing wasn't there, but the accused, James and Davitt, were sunbathing in the garden.
Yes, smoking cannabis, I see.
Yes, Your Honor. Sergeant Sills saw they were smoking, and as he got closer, he recognized the smell of cannabis, and he said, "That is cannabis you are smoking, is it not?" And Davitt replied, "Yes, want a drag?" James laughed, but said nothing. Sergeant Sills asked whose house it was, and Mills said, "Ours." Sergeant Sills asked, "What about Daddy Morris?" Mills replied, "We just let him pay the bills and live here at weekends. Sometimes we even let him play with us."
I see Mills then showed the police a cache of cannabis.
Yes, Your Honor, £2 underneath a floorboard, which would be worth about £900 on the open market. They also showed him some 20 cannabis plants in a vegetable garden between a row of tomato plants and a row of French beans. Exhibit 1 is a photograph of one of these plants, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, I have that.
The three accused were cautioned and arrested, Your Honor.
Downing was still not there.
This was Friday afternoon, Your Honor. He arrived from London that night.
Your Honour has no doubt seen the social inquiry report relating to my client, Bella James.
Yes, Mr. Lowry, I have.
Firstly, Your Honour, you'll observe she's never taken any opiates, only soft drugs. And secondly, she's still only 18 years old. She's the fourth of 8 children of working-class parents. Her father's been almost perpetually unemployed and given to excessive drinking and outbursts of violence.
How did you become associated with Mills and Davitt? Can you tell me?
Yes, Your Honour. She met them shortly after she'd run away to London at the age of 14 in a squat.
A what?
A squat, Your Honour. It's a house where people squat. Next, Your Honour, you'll observe from the social inquiry report that she entered into a homosexual relationship with Mrs. Davitt. Oh. It's understandable, perhaps, Your Honour, from her point of view, if you consider her position, adrift in London at the age of 14 with no parents, turning to a mature woman 10 years her senior, only to find that trust abused.
Good grief.
Mrs. Davitt, you must not interrupt. You will have an opportunity later if you have anything you wish to say.
I certainly will have.
And now, Your Honour, to my client's previous convictions, one for the theft of a dress and the other for stealing a bottle of milk in November 1973, both were committed after she'd been smoking marijuana, and both were committed in the company of Davitt. And as to the offences now before Your Honour, they again were committed with Davitt, and with Mills, again her senior, a heroin addict with a criminal record, which speaks for itself, and with a 35-year-old professional man.
You're saying that Morris Downing was involved in these offences?
The drug offences, yes, Your Honour, those are my instructions.
But there's no doubt that she did know that she was breaking the law.
No doubt whatsoever, Your Honour. But what I'm saying is that from the sort of man who should have been a pillar of support to her as a rootless teenager, an Oxford graduate and a member of our profession, she got not support, but acquiescence, even encouragement.
Yes, we still haven't established, how they became associated with Downing. Can you tell me?
Yes, Your Honour, I understand they were travelling in a car which broke down near Fulchester.
And when was this?
In October 1973, I understand Downing gave them a lift and indeed put them up for the night.
Why, and they stayed on?
Yes, Your Honour, for close on 2 years.
Yes, I see. Well, thank you.
Next, Your Honour, from the Social Inquiry report, you will have observed my client's very real remorse in this matter, which is illustrated by the assistance that she's been giving to the police.
Yes, she's going to give evidence for the Crown in the case against Downing.
Yes, Your Honour. These are the matters that I ask Your Honours to take into consideration. I invite you to take the view that the case be dealt with in the manner recommended in the Social Inquiry report, namely with a probation order, with the condition that Bella James shall reside where the probation officer may direct.
Yes, he says in a hostel, but he doesn't say where. Has a place been found?
Oh, yes, Your Honour. I'm assured there is a place available.
Thank you, Mr. Lowry. Now, Mrs. Davitt, what would you like to say?
Just what he says about my seducing Bella is, pardon the expression, absolute bullshit. My sex life may be a joke, but it's strictly limited to male men, and so is hers. This lesbian thing started in London. She started mooning about the place saying she was in love with me. Actually, it was just a device to save her from the social conventions of the squat, which required that she would sleep with anyone who asked. Oh, she revived it again last year when Morris Downing seemed to be getting a crush on her. Oh, also, her blaming everything on Hash, that's bullshit too.
Is that all you wish to say?
Yes, thank you.
You refuse to see the probation officer.
Yes, I didn't see the point.
Well, it might have assisted me a little to know something about you. You're 28. You've been married, but you're not married now, I understand. When did your marriage break down?
At the wedding reception, when he gave me a life insurance policy.
By he, you refer to your husband?
Yes, it would do just as well.
I read somewhere that you had 2 children by him.
Oh, true to my bourgeois upbringing, I gave the marriage a respectable go, so as not to upset the friends and relatives too much.
And when did you separate?
About 5 years ago.
Do you see the children?
Those children? No.
Do you wish to say anything about these offences?
Well, if you want me to grovel and say I'm sorry, I won't. In my opinion, marijuana is a far less harmful drug than alcohol. The law is completely hypocritical in this respect. There are nearly 400,000 alcoholics in this country. That's people who are really hooked, physically dependent. No one gets hooked like that on marijuana.
So you will use it again?
I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't.
I see. You discount any association between your shoplifting and the consumption of cannabis?
Absolutely. The shoplifting was just fun.
Fun? It is precisely that defiance of the law that generally prompts a prison sentence.
Oh, you can't send women with babies to prison.
There you are mistaken. Have you anything else you wish to say?
No, thank you.
Now, Mr. Bloom, I see that the latest social inquiry report I have for your client is dated May 1974. Is not a more recent one?
No, Your Honour.
You content to proceed without a more up-to-date one?
Yes, Your Honour.
Well, then, why shouldn't your client's suspended sentence be activated? He's got a string of convictions. I mean, the last I see in May 1974 for burglary, when he broke into the house of 2 old ladies. I mean, heroin addiction or no heroin addiction, he's had every chance.
Your Honour, there is one very good reason for not activating this suspended sentence, and that is that he has probably only about 6 months to live.
Mr. Bloom, if you're labouring under the belief that a heroin addict's death can be predicted in that way, you're mistaken. Contrary to popular belief, heroin addicts generally die, either from causes collateral to the taking of heroin or from accidental overdose.
Your Honour obviously has not had the opportunity of reading the medical report of Dr. Warren.
Well, nobody's given me a medical report.
Have they not? I'm sorry, Your Honour. In any event, I propose to call Dr. Warren to give evidence.
Well, I shall be interested in his explanation as to how he can predict with such certainty the date on which a heroin addict will die.
TV lawyers.
Dr. Warren, what is your full name, please?
Francis Ernest Warren. I live at 16 Glen Cove Way, Fulchester. I'm a Bachelor of Medicine in General Practice in Fulchester.
You have your notes with you?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure you may refresh your memory from them if you so wish. Patrick Mills is on your panel, is he not?
Yes, he was brought to me in the spring of 1974 by Morris Downing, who was already a patient of mine. Mills had a recent history of hemorrhaging, shortness of breath, and other symptoms of anemia.
Will you please tell us a little more about his medical history?
Yes, he became physically dependent on heroin at the age of 18. Since then, he'd received prescriptions through various treatment centres. Several attempts had been made to cure him of his addiction, but they were all ineffective. Additionally, he had a history of experimentation and abuse with amphetamines, lysergic acid, diethylamide, opium, and cocaine.
Did you examine him?
Yes. I found chronic ulceration and numerous hypodermic puncture marks on both arms, slight fever and enlargement of the glands in the neck and armpits. He admitted to using non-prescribed heroin. I arranged for him to be admitted to St. Anne's for detoxification and diagnosis under the care of Dr. Mole. Dr. Mole confirmed my initial diagnosis.
Oh, which was?
Acute leukemia.
I see. Oh, was the detoxification successful?
He lived through it, yes. Fairly astonishing, having mind to his condition.
Has he kept off heroin since?
Yes. Ironically enough, the knowledge that he was dying from leukemia seemed to give him the support he needed to get off heroin.
He is dying?
Unquestionably. There's no certain cure for leukemia. We can only retard it. He has already had all the usual treatment. He has had one relapse. Acute leukemia seldom runs for more than 3 years, but in his case, bearing in mind his poor physical condition, it would be nearer to, say, 2 years. And his case was first diagnosed in the spring of 1974.
Thank you, Doctor. Does Your Honour have any further questions?
Yes. Doctor, what will be the pattern of the disease in the future?
Another relapse is inevitable. When that happens, he'll be taken back into hospital. The previous treatment might work once again or even twice, but that only buys a little time.
Yes, I see. Thank you, Doctor. You may go.
I'll wait until the end of the case, if I may.
Well, of course, if you wish. Now, Mr. Bloom, no doubt you say that we should be merciful to your client and allow him to end his days at liberty.
Indeed, Your Honour.
Well, he's shown precious little consideration for society in the past. 15 convictions for dishonesty. What right has he to ask society to be merciful now?
For the next 6 months, at least, Your Honour, he has the same right as any other living person to appeal to common humanity. Your Honour will have observed from the social inquiry report made last year that this young man's history is not without its element of tragedy.
Yes, the tragedy is a young man with the ability to gain one of the most coveted classic scholarships to Oxford should thereafter systematically destroy himself.
Indeed. Your Honour will have observed that he was sent down within 6 months of having gone up to Oxford. My instructions are that he was introduced to heroin on his very first day at university, with the dismal consequences recorded in his antecedent history.
He's never held down a job of any sort, I suppose?
No, Your Honour.
No.
Of course, since he has achieved his independence from the drug in the last 12 months or so, he has been prevented by the state of his health or by the exigencies of his medical treatment from attempting any work.
Yes, any work he seems to have done was in Downing's garden. I see the probation officer who saw him in May 1974 was completely taken in by that, whereas in fact we now know he was cultivating cannabis.
He was also cultivating the rest of the vegetable garden.
Oh, yes, to allay suspicion. What do you say to the book stealing in July, on the 26th?
Your Honour, the property involved was slight in value.
That's completely irrelevant.
Your Honour, I was going to add, and at a particular time of stress.
What was that?
Mrs. Davitt, Your Honour will have observed, had a baby in July. My client had been in hospital until the 20th of July. When he came out, Mrs. Davitt told him that she was not at all sure that the baby was his. Until then, he had believed that it was.
So he goes out and steals a book. Sorry, Mr. Bloom, it might make sense to a psychiatrist, but it certainly doesn't make sense to me. But still, never mind that. Well, now, if he retains his liberty, where will he live out his days? Has he any family?
None who will own to it, Your Honour.
Then how can I let him remain free? To go pilfering whenever the mood takes him. I must at least know where he's going to live.
Your Honour, if you'll excuse the interruption.
Yes, Doctor?
My wife and I would provide him with a home until he has to return to hospital. We've discussed it.
Well, that's very charitable of you. Thank you, Doctor. I shall bear that in mind. Well, Mr. Bloom, have you anything else to say?
No, Your Honour.
Very well. I will pass sentence after the luncheon adjournment.
All stand. Rise, please.
Bella Ann Janes. In the space of less than 2 years, you've committed 3 offences for dishonesty and 1 offence relating to the possession of cannabis. Now, I've given serious thought as to whether I should send you to Borstal or not, but I've decided to hold that in reserve. Having regard for your unfortunate family background and for the fact that these offences were all committed with persons older than yourself, I'm going to give you the opportunity of gaining the guidance I think you need by putting you on probation. That is, if you agree. Do you agree to being put on probation?
Yeah.
Very well, then. I make a probation order for a period of 2 years with the condition that you reside where the probation officer directs. Margot Scylla Davitt. Now, for stealing the book, you will pay a fine of £400 with 6 months' imprisonment in default. For the possession of cannabis, a fine of £100 with 6 months' imprisonment in default. You will have 2 months in which to pay. If you haven't the money now, I suggest you get out and do some work. Patrick Mills, stand please. Now, it is only in the rarest of cases that an offender who commits an offence during the currency of a suspended prison sentence is not sent at once to prison. However, in your case, I am convinced that you're suffering from an incurable disease and that you do not have long to live. Therefore, I propose not to activate the suspended sentence, and for the offences before me now, I propose making a probation order, with the condition that you reside where the probation officer directs. Do you consent to such an order being made?
Yes, thank you.
Very well, so be it.
So you, Margot Davitt, and Patrick Mills have lived at the accused cottage at Apsley since about October 1973.
Yeah,
The accused used to come down every weekend?
most weekends.
What was that, Miss Janes? I didn't hear.
Most weekends.
On the 1st of August, were you and Margot Davitt at the cottage, and did the police visit there?
Yeah,
What were you and Margot Davitt doing?
sunbathing.
What was that?
Sunbathing.
What else?
Listening to the radio.
Is anything else?
Smoking.
Cannabis?
And have you since pleaded guilty in this court to possessing cannabis on that occasion?
Yeah.
Who had given it to you, the cannabis?
Well, Patrick did before he went out.
Had you or the other 2 ever smoked cannabis at the accused cottage before?
Yeah.
How many times?
Lots of times.
Well, regularly or just on isolated occasions?
Regularly.
What?
I said regularly.
But how regularly? I mean, once a month or more frequently?
Every week.
Did you, Davitt and Mills, ever smoke cannabis at the weekends?
Yeah, we didn't just smoke it, we made cakes with it as well.
Yes. And was the accused present on those occasions?
Yeah.
Did he ever try and stop you?
No.
Did any of you ever do anything to indicate that you weren't smoking just any sort of ordinary cigarette?
No.
Miss Janes, did you ever say anything which might have led the accused to realize that you were smoking marijuana?
He knew all right. He always had a drag when he was around. He knew we were using dope. He even gave Patrick his fixes.
Fixes? Of what? Heroin?
Yeah.
You're saying that Morris Downing gave Patrick Mills heroin injections?
Yeah.
The jury is composed of members of the general public. The case of the Queen against Downing will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. On the 1st of August this year, the police visited a country cottage belonging to successful Chancery barrister Maurice Downing. They were met by two young women, Margot Davitt and Bella Janes, who were both smoking cannabis. It transpired that there was a quantity of cannabis under the floorboards of the cottage and a row of cannabis plants in the garden. Downing is now on trial for permitting his premises to be used for the smoking of cannabis and for the cultivation of cannabis. Bella Janes has turned Queen's evidence and is giving evidence against him.
Despite the fact that you were smoking that. No. What names did you use for cannabis?
Hash, grass, weed.
Yes, and a cigarette containing cannabis?
Joint.
Yes. Did you ever use these terms in front of the accused?
Yeah.
So he can have no doubt that you were smoking cannabis.
Well, you always know it's hash because of the smell.
It smells different from an ordinary cigarette.
Well, I thought everyone knew that.
What was that?
I thought everyone knew that.
No, not everyone, Miss Janes.
You do realize, do you, that Mr. Downing is a very able and reputable member of his profession? And do you realize that he spent his whole life to attain that position?
Yeah.
And do you also realize that if a barrister commits offences of the nature you say he's committed, that's the end of his career? He's drummed out of his profession.
No.
And are you saying that this man, knowing that he risked his entire career, did all the things that you say he did?
Yeah.
Now, can you remember any specific occasions where you and the others smoked cannabis in front of the accused?
Well, there was a time when Patrick had a Kojak.
You mean he had all his hair shaved off?
Yeah.
When was that?
Well, just after we went to live there.
So that would be about the end of 1973, perhaps?
Yeah, about then.
Yes, and what happened?
Well, we'd had a few joints for 11s. We went into Fulchester. We were smoking in the car.
Yes. Now, was the accused there?
Yeah.
You sure?
Well, yeah, he bought me this dress.
Yes. And then something happened in Fulchester which has caused this to remain in your memory?
Yeah.
Yes, what was that?
Well, Patrick didn't want to go round the shops with us. He went off on his own. And when we got back to the car, he'd beaten the barbers and had all his hair shaved off.
I see. Any other occasions?
There was the time Margot stripped off in front of the milkman.
Yes, when was that?
Well, I don't know exactly. Last year, June, I think it was.
Yes, and what happened there?
Well, we'd been up all night, drinking, playing records.
What, and smoking cannabis?
Yeah. And when the milkman came to the door for the money, Margot stripped off in front of him.
Yes, what happened?
He ran away.
What?
The milkman ran away.
You're saying that Mr. Downing was present when this sort of thing went on?
Yeah.
Any other occasions?
Yeah, it was the time we went shoplifting in Burns.
Yes, when was that?
The Saturday before Patrick brought the police round.
So that would be about the 26th of July this year?
Yeah.
Yes. And that was because you've been smoking cannabis as well, was it?
Yeah, we'd had a few joints for breakfast, then Morris took us shopping.
You're not saying that he knew that you were going shoplifting?
Oh, no, I don't suppose he knew that.
Now, you're talking about Burns's bookshop.
Yeah. Patrick for some Latin book, Margot for a book of astrology, and I got Watership Down.
Members of the jury, I'm sure you'll be glad to know that the witness and her accomplices have been prosecuted and convicted for these offences.
Now, you've told us about 3 specific occasions. Can you remember any more?
Yeah, there was a time we had a joint to celebrate when Patrick came out of hospital.
Yes. When was that? Can you remember?
No, I can't remember exactly. He'd been in for a chemical wash.
He'd been having treatment for his leukemia.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, the police have given evidence that there were a number of cannabis plants in the garden at Apsley, between a row of tomatoes and a row of beans. Did you know they were there?
Yeah.
Yes. Who looked after the vegetable garden?
Well, Patrick and Morris did.
But you're going to say that Mr. Downing grew the cannabis plants?
Yeah.
Who planted the cannabis, do you know?
Well, Patrick did, but Morris got the seed.
Where from?
Well, it comes in swallow.
What?
Swallow, it's a bird food.
Yes. Are you quite sure it was the accused who obtained this seed?
Yeah, well, Patrick told him there was cannabis in it, so when he came down from London, he brought a packet.
Yes, when was this?
Well, it was before Patrick was ill.
Well, that would be about the spring of 1974, perhaps.
Yeah, about then.
Yes, I see. Now, after the plants had grown, did anyone tend them? Weed them, for example?
Yeah, Patrick and Morris did.
Yes. Now, I want us to be quite sure about this. All these occasions you've been talking about when you and Margot Davitt and Patrick Mills smoked pot, the accused was present, was he?
Yeah.
You are aged 37?
Yes.
Oh, you are a bachelor, Mr. Downing?
Yes, Your Honour.
And are you a barrister by profession?
Yes, I'm at the Chancery Bar.
Perhaps you should explain the significance of that.
Oh, yes. The work I do is limited to company tax and trust law.
You have never conducted a criminal case.
No.
I think it fair to say also that the chancery work which you do is regarded within the profession as being rather more intellectual than the work of the rest of the profession.
That's the popular myth, yes.
Well, I can assure you that we all regard you people at the Chancery Bar as being extremely brainy. Now, was your father a civil servant?
Yes, of a modest grade.
And did you live near Fulchester and attend Fulchester Grammar School?
Yes.
Did you then go on to Oxford?
Yes.
Will you tell His Honour and the jury of your main academic achievements?
Do I have to go into all this? It really has nothing to do with the charges.
Well, Mr. Bloom has a good point to make on your behalf, Mr. Downing. If I were you, I wouldn't interfere with his conduct of your case.
I'm sorry, Your Honour. I didn't mean to give that impression. Would you ask the question again, please?
No doubt I shall be forgiven for leading. Is it right that you won an exhibition in mathematics to Oxford, that you subsequently won a first-class degree, and what is rarer still, a first class in the professional bar exams?
Yes.
Did all this success come easily to you?
If you mean, did I have to work hard? Yes. I'm afraid I don't have an outstanding mind. My successes are due mainly to slogging.
So the position in life and at the bar that you've built up for yourself is the result of years of slogging?
Yes.
And now will you tell the jury what are the consequences for a barrister who is convicted of a serious breach of the criminal law, as, for example, of the kind with which you were charged?
Yes. He's disbarred, that is, thrown out of the profession.
And that finishes his career forever?
Yes.
How long have you been aware of this feature of the discipline of the profession?
Oh, I can't say exactly. Since I was a student, certainly.
So that at all times material to this case, you would have known that if you were to smoke cannabis, or to permit it to be smoked at your cottage, or to grow it, you were running the risk of ending your career and wasting the labors of your entire life.
Yes.
Now, you first crossed paths with Bella Janes, Margot Davitt, and Patrick Mills in 1973, I believe.
Yes, it was a Friday night in October. I was driving up to Fulchester from London. They'd broken down. I stopped, gave them a lift, and since they couldn't go on, I put them up.
And they stayed?
Yes, they were no trouble. They looked after the place. Mrs. Davitt cooked, and Patrick worked in the garden. It was a very convenient arrangement.
Did you appreciate the fact that they were taking drugs?
I learned that Patrick was addicted to heroin, Your Honour. I did not know that they were taking anything else. I checked that his heroin was actually prescribed. I explained that I couldn't get involved in anything illegal. I trusted them.
So you had no idea that they were smoking or growing cannabis?
No.
If you had appreciated that they were doing that, what would you have done?
I should have had to ask them to leave.
Miss Jane says that you used to smoke it with them.
I'm afraid Bella is not telling the truth. I've never even smoked an ordinary cigarette.
Again, she said that Patrick Mills told you that a certain bird food contained cannabis seed and that you brought some of this seed back from London.
I'm afraid that's untrue, too.
Now, we have been told that there were some cannabis plants growing in the garden. Was there any arrangement about the gardening?
Yes, very, very shortly after they arrived, Patrick offered to look after the garden. It was very overgrown, the vegetable part.
So that was the arrangement, was it? That he should look after the vegetable garden and you...
well, I should look after the flowers.
So you had no idea that Patrick Mills was growing cannabis in the vegetable garden?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Downing.
Downing, not only did you appreciate that these young people were using drugs, but you even encouraged them. Well?
Oh, was that a question? Certainly not.
Miss James has told us how you used to inject Mills with his heroin. Are you saying that is untrue?
No.
Well, that is true. You did.
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
EV Lawyers.
Before I came to this court, I had no idea that cannabis could be obtained in packets of birdseed or anywhere else for that matter.
Before you move on to another topic, Mr. Parsons, I'd like to go back on these heroin injections. What's your explanation for them, Mr. Downing?
You appreciate, Your Honor, that Patrick's heroin was prescribed. It was before he went into hospital. His arms were so covered in ulcers that he couldn't stick the needle in. He kept stabbing at himself, screaming. That's why I did it. I'd never injected anyone before.
But did you not appreciate when you discovered that Mills was on heroin that there was a risk for him and the others of using other drugs as well?
Yes, that did occur to me, yes.
Yes, and yet you continued to allow them to stay in your cottage.
They had nowhere to go. I thought I might be able to help Patrick. I explained that I couldn't get involved in anything illegal. I trusted them. I made inquiries to make sure that Patrick's heroin was actually prescribed. And they knew I'd made those inquiries.
Yes, but Downing, in November 1973, not long after these three had taken up residence in your cottage, they were convicted of stealing bottles of milk, and you were aware of that at the time.
Yes.
And yet you still continued to harbour and trust them after that.
Yes.
You're really asking us to believe that you still trusted them?
Yes, I had it out with them. It was the first time they'd done anything wrong. I should have realized they didn't have any money.
Are you saying that you provided for them after that date?
Yes, Your Honor.
Or you thought it would put a stop to the pilfering?
Oh, yes, Your Honor, they'd have no cause.
No doubt they promised not to do it again.
Yes.
And you were asking us to believe that you were gullible enough to believe them.
Yes.
And that you still trusted them.
Yes, they gave me their word.
How did you provide for them?
I gave them an allowance, Your Honor.
How much?
£10 each, and Mrs. Davitt, I gave an additional £15 for housekeeping.
It didn't occur to you that it might have been a great deal better for them if you'd let them get out and do some work?
Yes, I did think of that, Your Honor. I thought it just enough for essentials.
Now, we've heard at great length about your hard struggle and then your great success at the Chancery Bar, the implication being that it is quite impossible for a man in such a position to do the things alleged against you.
When you're coming to your question, Mr. Parsons.
Now, Your Honour. Now, that would have been all right, but for one thing, and that is, in fact, that when you first encountered these three young people, you were cracking up, weren't you?
Cracking up? I've no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you kept your nose to the grindstone all these years, school, university, making a success at the bar. You're an only child. Both your parents are dead. You've never married. The bar can become a great substitute for living.
I've never heard a member of the bar say that before, Mr. Parsons.
Well, I'll stand by that, Your Honour. As I was saying, Downing, you suddenly found yourself at the top of your career and your work, and you paused, looked around at your life, and despaired.
I can only assume, Parsons, that life at the criminal bar is very different to life at the Chancery Bar.
Is it, Downing? Well, will you look at this book?
That's my diary.
Yes, the police took possession of it when they raided your cottage. Now, let's look at a few entries.
But it's private.
If it's evidence, it may be looked at, as you well know, Mr. Downing.
But, Your Honour, it has nothing to do with the charges. It's just my thoughts, my own jottings.
You may rely on me to rule it out if I consider it irrelevant.
But surely, Your Honour, the police could have asked me, told me. I've spent hours looking for it.
Why, so you could destroy it?
I should find that suggestion surprising from any member of the bar, let alone someone who'd been at Oxford with me.
Mr. Parsons, Mr. Downing, please, may we try and keep this in a low key?
I'm sorry, Your Honour.
Now, when you met these three young people, you were thoroughly dissatisfied with your life, were you not? And they, your friends, Bella, Margot, and Patrick, brought a new spark into it, didn't they?
I've been very contented with my life.
Really? Well, will you look at your diary and turn to the 12th of May, 1972?
1972.
Yes. Now, what does it say?
Drank too much again, it's when I'm bored, and that's when I'm not working. I've worked so hard that I no longer know what to do when I stop.
Yes. Now, you're recording there your feelings at the time.
Yes, that was 12 months before. I did have a bit of a mood, but I got over it.
How?
I took up sailing. I joined an amateur drama group. I made a point of getting out a bit.
Yes. Well, now let's look at the entry for October 20th, 1973. Have you got it?
Yes.
Now, what does it say?
The 3 young people who stayed last weekend phoned and asked if they could stay another week. I agreed. Enjoyed last weekend enormously. In fact, haven't enjoyed myself so much for ages.
Yes. Now, that was a weekend. You picked them up, wasn't it?
Yes.
So you weren't being quite frank with us just now, were you?
I told you I was very contented with my life before I met them, and I was.
Well, the truth is, darling, you became quite intoxicated by these young people and allowed them to do anything they wished, which included growing and smoking cannabis in your cottage, didn't it?
I've told you I had no knowledge of it.
Well, let's look at some specific instance, shall we? Now, there was an occasion in 1973 when you all smoked cannabis and then went into Fulchester and Patrick Mills had all his hair shaved off. Do you remember that?
I remember his having his hair shaved off. I certainly didn't smoke. I've never smoked in my life.
Miss Janes didn't invent the whole story, then?
Not all of it, Your Honour, no.
Yes, but they smoked cannabis in the cottage and in the car.
If they did, I wasn't aware of it.
But Patrick Mills had all his hair shaved off for no reason at all. Did you not appreciate he was under the influence of some stimulus?
I think Patrick had his hair shaved off because he was due to appear in court, and his solicitor told him that he should have his hair cut short.
You mean it was an act of defiance?
More a joke, I think, Your Honour.
And you, Downing, did you think it was funny?
I thought it was ludicrous.
You thought it was funny?
Funny because it was ludicrous.
Yes, but did it occur to you that this incident was precipitated by cannabis or by some other stimulus?
No.
It was not a normal way to behave, though, was it, Mr. Downing?
Not for many people, Your Honour, no.
But for him?
Yes, Your Honour.
Well, if he was always doing things like this, might it not be because he was always on cannabis?
I don't know, Your Honour.
Well, let's come to another incident now, shall we? The time Mrs. Davitt stripped naked in front of the milkman. Now, you don't deny that happened?
No.
No. And it happened after you'd been up all night playing records and smoking cannabis.
We'd stayed up all night. Yes. I remember that I didn't get up to Fulchester from London until 3 in the morning. I'd been to a dinner.
Yes, and you'd all been smoking cannabis.
I hadn't, and if they had, I wasn't aware of it.
Oh. Were they smoking?
I suppose so. Yes. I don't really know. I can't remember.
Well, did you never notice that when they smoked there was a strange pungent smell, quite different from any ordinary tobacco?
No. I've never given much thought to the smell of tobacco.
But did you not consider it abnormal behaviour when Mrs. Davitt took all her clothes off in front of the milkman?
Yes, I suppose so. We'd all been drinking, and I suppose I drunk rather a lot.
Are you implying that you only found her behaviour a bit abnormal? I mean, you wouldn't expect many women to behave like that, would you?
No, Your Honour. But Margot used to boast about her attitude to men. It was a joke amongst us.
Ah, so it was a joke?
Yes.
Yes. And what she did you think it was funny?
Yes. I don't think it did anyone any harm.
And in spite of this incident, you continued to allow Mrs. Davitt to stay in your cottage?
Yes.
Yes. You didn't ask her to leave?
No.
No? Were you having an affair with her?
Your Honour, must I put up with this?
Yes, Mr. Downing, you must.
Very well. No, I was not.
Now, Mrs. Davitt gave birth to an illegitimate child in July, did she not?
Yes.
And yet you still permitted her to remain in your cottage.
Yes.
What did you do about it?
Nothing.
Well, did it not concern you that she'd have permitted this thing to happen?
I could hardly stop it, could I? What was I supposed to do? Follow her around day and night and make sure she didn't conceive? Throwing Margot out into the street would hardly have done any good to the child, would it?
Yes, but you knew that when Mrs. Davitt left her husband, she also deserted her 2 young children.
Yes.
And I suppose it occurred to you that if she permitted herself to produce this illegitimate child, she might well produce another one.
I don't think I thought of that, no.
But in any event, you were concerned for the child, and yet you said nothing about it. You didn't remonstrate with her or reason with her?
No.
Darling, you are completely in the power of Davitt, Mills, and James, were you not?
No, certainly not.
Well, let's take a look at Bella James. Now, you were besotted by her.
No. That's not the appropriate word.
Is it not? Well, look at your diary entry for the 10th of November, 1973.
10th of November, you say?
Yes. Now, what does it say?
Bella, she is youth and beauty. She bubbles with the joy of being young and lovely as she is.
Let's read on.
No hesitations, no qualms. What is fun is good.
Yes, that was her philosophy.
My interpretation, yes.
Yes, and you approved of it?
In part.
Yes, you wanted to live like her?
That would have been quite impossible.
Well, you envied her.
My parents' attitude was that as long as they weren't enjoying themselves, no one could accuse them of doing anything wrong. I think anyone not inhibited by that sort of attitude is to be envied to a degree.
Still, she was fun to be with, and you thought her beautiful. Do you still?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's look at your entry for the 25th of November, 1973. You have it?
Yes.
Yes, well, will you read it?
I bought Bella a dress. She kissed me and made me dance with her. She posed in front of the mirror for hours, hopped up and down and saying, "Golly Morris, aren't I super, aren't I super?" Do you want me to read any more? Should I read it all?
No, that'll do, thank you. Now, you bought her dresses on innumerable occasions, did you not?
About 10, I think.
Yes, whenever she asked.
I don't think she asked. She said she'd seen something she liked, and I suggested that we go and look at it, and then I said she could have it.
Yes, and you gave her £10 a week pocket money.
Yes.
And you bought her other presents, no doubt.
A few, yes.
Yes. In short, darling, this 18-year-old girl could make you dance, could make you sing, could make you do anything she wanted, couldn't she?
The jury is composed of members of the public. The case of the Queen against Downing will be concluded tomorrow in the Crown Court. On the 1st of August this year, the police visited a country cottage belonging to successful Chancery barrister Morris Downing. There they saw 2 young women, Bella James and Margot Davitt, who were both smoking cannabis. A third occupant, Patrick Mills, showed the police a quantity of cannabis under the floorboards of the cottage and a row of cannabis plants in the garden. Downing was charged with and is now on trial for permitting his premises to be used for the smoking of cannabis and for the cultivation of cannabis. Bella Janes has given evidence for the prosecution that she was well aware that she and the other two were smoking and cultivating cannabis. Downing has denied this, and he is now being cross-examined.
In short, Downing, this 18-year-old girl could make you dance, could make you sing, could make you do anything she wanted, couldn't she?
That's absurd. Anyway, what does it matter anymore?
Well, it matters. Because of the consequence, you let her and her friends do anything they wished, which included smoking cannabis, didn't you?
Your Honor, I've already answered that question several times before.
Well, what did you feel towards her?
Fondness. I was fond of her. I liked them all. I felt sorry for them.
Just fondness?
Yes.
Well, will you read the entry in your diary for August 20th, 1974?
August the 20th, you say?
Yes.
Chertsey Yacht Club dance. Subalterns, stockbrokers and RN types maddened by Bella dancing in her tight blue jeans. They can't be blamed, except, of course, they would never have let anyone so common into the yacht club unless she'd been with me. And I'm tolerated in spite of my parents, whom they remember simply because I'm at the bar.
Yes, and you still pretend fondness was all you felt for her?
I'm not pretending about anything.
Then lastly, let us turn to June 14th this year, a Saturday. Do you have it?
Yes?
Well, what did you write there?
Patrick, too weak for more than one visitor. Bella and I dropped Margot at the hospital and then went punting on the full. Bella took her dress off and swam in the sacred stretch reserved for the last 70 years for the university men. An old professor swam ponderously over and asked her whether she was a male member of the university. She insisted she was and paddled off, and he paddled off dumbfounded, uncertain whether to issue a writ for trespass or go to the police.
Yes, read on, Dunning, read on. There's one sentence you've left out.
The happiest day of my life.
Yes. You were besotted with her, in love.
I've told you I was very fond of her. What more can I say?
Well, what are your feelings for her now?
I'm still very fond of her.
Still? Well, if what you've told us is true, she's been telling a pack of lies in this court. Lies which she knows could ruin your career if they were believed.
Bella's not really wicked. It's just that she's frightened, that's all.
Frightened of what?
Borstal, I expect. Everything, the court. And...
So you're still fond of her? Fond enough to have her back in your cottage?
Yes, if I could be sure that she wouldn't take drugs again.
Yes, but could you be sure that she might keep any promises she might give you?
No.
Mrs. Davitt, you admit that you, Bella Janes, and Patrick Mills frequently smoked cannabis whilst you were living at the accused cottage.
Yes.
And of course you've pleaded guilty and been sentenced for charges brought as a result.
Correct.
And you were also aware that there were cannabis plants growing in the garden.
Yes.
Tell me this. To your knowledge, did Morris Downing ever smoke cannabis?
Never. He never smoked at all.
Was he ever present when you or the other two were smoking cannabis?
No. We agreed we couldn't do it at the weekends, for his sake. Never on Saturdays, never on Sundays. That was the pact.
But you didn't want to run the risk of his getting into trouble.
That's right.
Did he ever say anything about his attitude to drugs?
Yes, I remember quite early on when he discovered Patrick was on heroin, he became very fussed. He said he couldn't become involved in anything illegal. We explained Patrick was on prescription, he calmed down.
Did he appear at all concerned when he learned that Mills was addicted to heroin?
Oh, yeah, he was always pressuring Patrick to try a cure. We talked it all out several times.
Mills, of course, didn't embark on a further cure until his leukemia was diagnosed.
No, well, he'd tried most kinds of treatment at one time or another. He'd given up.
I understand that Mr. Downing sometimes administered Mills's heroin injections.
Yeah, poor old Morris. Sticking hypodermics into arms covered with running sores and bleeding profusely just wasn't my scene. I funked it.
We have heard that Morris Downing cultivated the garden.
Oh, yes. Well, I honestly don't think he had a clue what they were. I had to laugh at him sometimes. The Chancery barrister, pillar of the establishment and all that, weeding and watering a row of cannabis plants in blissful ignorance that they were, in fact, the dreaded weed.
But he cultivated the vegetable garden where the cannabis grew?
Yeah. Well, I've got a snapshot of him somewhere in my bag, I think.
Can we see it?
Yeah, if I've got it. Yes. Here.
Show that to Mr. Bloom, will you?
Your Honour, I shall have to take instructions on this. I may have to apply to recall my client.
Yes, indeed you may, Mr. Bloom. It completely contradicts his evidence that he did not cultivate the vegetable garden. Mark it Exhibit 2, will you? Who planted them?
Patrick?
And where did you get the seed?
I really don't remember.
Don't remember. Must have told you.
Oh, I don't recall.
I see.
Thank you, Mrs. Davitt. Will you wait there, please?
Mrs. Davitt, no doubt the establishment of your own private source of cannabis was a very exciting event for you all.
Pleasing rather than exciting, I'd say.
Pleasing, then. You cannot have forgotten where the seed came from.
Is that a question?
Well, you can't have forgotten.
Well, anyone would think I had nothing else to think of but hash. I do other things. I read, I write.
So the evidence which you wish me to record is that you have forgotten?
Yes.
Very well.
Well, let us pass on, Mrs. Davitt. Do you recall a Saturday in November 1973 when Patrick Mills shaved all his hair off?
Yes.
Now, you'd all been smoking cannabis that morning, had you not?
If it was a Saturday, no.
Are you saying that Mills was not under the influence of some stimulus when he behaved in that extraordinary manner?
No, he may have had something, but not necessarily. And if it was a Saturday, not cannabis.
What may he have had if he didn't have cannabis?
Well, if it was November 1973, like you say, he would have had a shot of heroin. But his having a Kojak doesn't necessarily signify drugs.
What, do you mean he might have behaved like that anyway?
Yes.
What sort of things had he done in the past?
Well, I remember he spent a night up a telegraph pole once, in London that was. Well, I distinctly remember now, he wasn't on anything. He'd just been on a cure, he was off everything.
Yes, but that didn't last for long.
No, it never did.
Then let us pass on to the time you stripped naked in front of the milkman on a Saturday in August 74. Now, you've been smoking cannabis that morning, had you not?
Could we take that in stages? 1, I did not strip off in front of the milkman. I took my clothes off and waited behind the kitchen door until he arrived there. And at that precise moment, I swung the door open and confronted him. 2, we had not been smoking cannabis because it was a Saturday morning and poor old Morris was there.
Mrs. Dafford, what on earth prompted you to behave in that way if it weren't cannabis or some other drug?
But I don't know what you're getting at.
Would you normally behave like that?
I've never done that before. But as an act, it's no different in quality, say, from hiding behind a door waiting to empty a bucket of water over somebody.
So it was a joke.
A good joke, yes.
Then there was the shoplifting on Saturday, 26th of July this year. Now, that too occurred after you've been smoking cannabis with the accused.
Oh, come on. Stealing is the oldest provision for the redistribution of wealth. It's been going on in this country thousands of years before the use of cannabis became widespread.
When you were sentenced for that offence, you told us that you did it just for fun.
Yes, that was accurate. As far as I'm concerned, we did it for fun. Even if Patrick now says he did it because he was upset about the baby. And Bella says she did it because she was under the influence of cannabis. She only says that because it's a neat and simple way of shifting responsibility onto someone else. In fact, you may have noticed that she blames drugs for everything she's allegedly ever done wrong. Though I notice she denies ever taking opiates. Another lie.
Mrs. Davitt, are you not a person devoid of any normal moral sense at all?
I think that question is unanswerable in that phrasing.
Well, then, let us test it, shall we? Now, you married and had 2 children.
Haven't we been through all that?
And then you deserted your husband and your children to go and live with squatters.
Why pick such emotive words as deserted? Why always predicate rights and wrongs?
Well, you don't deny it, do you?
Why should I bother?
No. And since then you've stolen, flouted the law and drugs, lived as a parasite on Morris Downing, and brought an illegitimate child into the world.
You selectively omit the work I've done.
Oh, yes, your work, Mrs. Davitt. Your writing. Now, what have you written? A successful guide to sex, shoplifting, and squatting?
As it happens, homelessness is one of the topics I've covered. I write articles. I confess that when I've been particularly hard up, I've even written articles on sex to titillate middle-class housewives living vicariously on glossy magazines.
And how many articles did you write during the 2 years you lived in Mr. Downing's cottage?
2, maybe 3.
Which were paid?
A couple of £100.
Otherwise you lived on money provided by Mr. Downing.
Yes.
And the last important feature about you is you do not even know who is the father of the child you've given birth to, do you?
That's so.
If you appreciated that Patrick Mills thought he was the father of your child, why did you disillusion him? Why didn't you let him go on believing it?
Well, I didn't know he kidded himself about that. Anyhow, I don't believe in illusions.
Mrs. Davitt, the truth is you're a person devoid of moral restraint, and no doubt you're hoping to keep a roof over your head by lying for Morris Downing.
I hardly think so. The baby and I moved out last week. Morris asked us to. He only tolerated me for Bella. Maybe for Patrick, too.
EV Lawyers.
Did you ask Morris Downing to get you the cannabis seed?
I asked him to get some swallow.
Bird food. Did you tell him that it contained cannabis seed?
No, I didn't.
And who planted the seed?
Well, no one.
But the plants?
Well, they came from the house the police say that I burgled. The old lady's garden.
I find this all rather bewildering.
Yes, well, I couldn't believe my eyes either when I first saw it.
What?
Well, the garden. It was just a jungle of cannabis plants on our very doorstep. Well, I realized all along that we'd fallen on our feet with old Morris. When I first saw the old lady's garden, there in the same village, well, I realized we'd dropped into paradise. That's just what I thought at the time.
Are you saying that 2 old ladies were cultivating cannabis?
Yes, only they didn't know it. They'd just been scattering swallows' prime bird food around their garden for years.
So what did you do?
Well, I wasn't going to waste time growing the stuff from seed if I could pinch a few plants.
So that's what you did?
Right, only the first time I did, I got nicked.
That was in May 1974 when you were charged with burglary. And who looked after the plants?
I did.
Yes. Thank you.
Did the accused ever attend the vegetable garden where the cannabis plants were?
No, I did that. I didn't want him to see them.
That answer is completely untrue, isn't it, Mr. Mills? A deliberate lie.
What answer?
That Morris Downing never attended the vegetable garden. May he be shown Exhibit 2. Now, do you see that photograph? Do you now admit you just lied to His Honor and to the jury?
Yes. I don't know why. I used to look after the vegetable garden until I became too, ill. And then Morris took over. But he didn't know what was there, I'm sure. Well, even the police who arrested me in the old lady's garden didn't cotton onto the cannabis growing there. I mean, I was hiding in it when they came for me. And people don't know what it looks like.
Yes, but if you believe that the accused was ignorant of the cannabis plants, why lie?
Well, I just thought it might be easier if no one knew we used to water them and weed round them.
When the police arrested you on August 1st, you offered to show them where we grow the stuff. And when you were asked who you meant by we, you said Daddy Morris and me were a big team. We fly real high. You grew it together, didn't you?
Yes, I was stoned when I said that. Even the police agree about that.
So you would have us believe that he was unaware of any of your activities and trusted you, and that nevertheless you broke that trust and laughed at him behind his back.
Yes, well, I'm sure Morris is very clever and all that, but he doesn't know half of what's going on around him. I once found him putting oil in the radiator of his car.
Yes, you could do anything you wanted with him, couldn't you?
Well, I never put it to the test.
Well, you treated everything of his as your own, did you not? You took him over, money, property, willpower, and all.
I don't know what you're on about.
Well, did you not say to the police that the cottage belonged to you, and that when the police asked you about the accused, did you not say, we just let him pay the bills and live here at weekends?
I don't know whether I said it. I was high.
Yes, but that was the position, wasn't it?
Well, if I said that, I'm sorry.
Sorry for exploiting him and laughing at him behind his back.
No, we were not exploiting him. I mean, Morris is as much of a lame duck as me. He needed us, and we were just looking after him.
A lame duck whom you were laughing at behind his back.
I didn't always laugh at him.
Fact is, you haven't done a decent thing in your life.
Yes, well, some people used to think a great deal of me when I was at school. Great things were expected of me.
Yes, but all you've done since then has been destructive.
Yes, I'm sure you're right.
No doubt. You now feel sorry for your life.
I really don't know.
Well, you don't? It's not the story you've told us here today, motivated by a misguided desire to make amends to the accused.
Well, a far better thing, you mean? Oh, I'm making no sacrifices.
Oh, in your condition, you can perjure yourself with complete impunity.
No, I'm telling the truth.
That Saturday, the 26th of July, when you, Bella James, and Mrs. Davitt went out to steal books, you'd all been smoking cannabis that morning, had you not?
No, never on Saturdays and never on Sundays.
I was told that you were upset because until that day you thought that Mrs. Davitt's baby was your own.
Yes, I think I was. Not that I care especially for Margot, except as a friend. But I did get a kick out of thinking the baby was mine. It's a healthy baby.
Then there was a Saturday in November 1973 when you had all your hair shaved off. You've been taking cannabis that day, hadn't you?
Never on Saturdays, never on Sundays.
What on earth prompted you to do it? I mean, to go and have your hair shaved off?
Well, it just seemed like a stupid thing to do.
Did it have anything to do with your court appearance?
No. I just thought it might make Bella and Margot laugh a bit, so.
More good, clean fun.
Black comedy, rather. You see, my hair's gone forever now.
Your Honor, I would, if I may, like to recall my client to deal with the photograph and its apparent contradiction of his earlier testimony.
Yes, very well, Mr. Bloom. Mr. Downing, will you please go back in the witness box? I remind you that you're still under oath.
Will you look at that photograph? When you were giving evidence earlier, you said that you did not cultivate the vegetable garden where the cannabis plants were, that you only cultivated the flower garden. Now, the photograph shows that that is not so, doesn't it?
Yes.
Were you deliberately trying to mislead the court?
No.
Mr. Bloom, I've been looking at my notes, and I see now that the evidence which Mr. Downing gave is not inconsistent with the facts shown on that photograph. All he said was that there was an arrangement whereby Mills would look after the vegetable garden, he would look after the flower garden. He never said whether that arrangement was adhered to or not.
I'm much obliged, Your Honor. What was the position, Mr. Downing?
I looked after the vegetable garden when Patrick became too ill.
So then you did tend the cannabis plants of the garden?
Yes, Your Honor, but I had no idea what they were until the police told me.
What do you think they were?
I don't know, Your Honor. I think I must have thought there was some sort of herb.
Well, for cooking?
Yes, Your Honor.
Didn't you ask?
No, Your Honor. There were many plants that I didn't know the name of.
So there you were every weekend, scraping round with your hoe, quite ignorant of the fact that you were tending cannabis plants. In fact, Patrick Mills was using you to cultivate his cannabis plants.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you know anything about cannabis?
No.
Did you know before you came to the court, for example, that marijuana and cannabis are different names for the same thing?
No.
Also, I think your evidence about the birdseed was a bit ambiguous. Did you buy that?
Well, as Patrick said, he asked me to get the packet. He told me the brand, and I didn't know what it was.
Thank you, Mr. Downing.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes, just one point, Your Honor. Downing, before Mills asked you to purchase this birdseed, had you ever noticed in him or the others an interest in birds before?
No.
So, no doubt you asked him what it was all about, this newfound interest in birds.
No.
Oh. Oh. Did you subsequently see him feeding any birds?
No.
Did you ever broach the subject? Ask him why he wanted this bird seed?
No.
But why not, Downing? If you were convinced it was simply bird food, why did you not ask these questions of Mills?
I think I forgot all about it after I'd bought it.
Yes, the other explanation, of course, is you didn't ask the questions because you knew it contained cannabis seed. You knew what it was for, Downing.
I did not. Anyway, what does it matter anymore? Everything's been made to look so orgiastic, I might just as well have planted the stuff for all anyone may care. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. A person can't be present at an orgy without knowing it's going on, can he?
Exactly, Downing. Thank you.
Now, the law is, I'm afraid, a little complicated. On the first count of cultivating cannabis, the prosecution have the burden of proving, and of proving beyond all reasonable doubt, that cannabis was cultivated in the accused's garden. Now, once they've done that, the accused must be convicted, unless he satisfies you that he neither believed, nor suspected, nor had reason to suspect that the plants were cannabis plants. Now, the accused does not have to satisfy you of that to the extent of proof beyond all reasonable doubt. He only has to satisfy you of the balance of probabilities. That is, that it is more probable than not that he neither believed nor suspected nor had reason to suspect that the plants were cannabis. Now, count 2 is the offense of permitting premises to be used for the smoking of cannabis. Now, before you could convict the accused, you would have to be satisfied not only that the accused premises were used for the smoking of cannabis, and on that there is really no dispute, but also that the accused had actual knowledge that the premises were being so used, or had knowledge of facts such that it might be said that he closed his eyes to the obvious, or had let matters go on without seeming to care whether the smoking of cannabis was taking place or not. Now, remember, at this stage, your verdict must be a unanimous one. It must be the verdict of you all. In a moment, I shall ask the jury bailiff to be sworn in. You will go to your room, where you will consider your verdict. And whilst you're there, you must elect a foreman to speak on your behalf and give your verdict when you return. Let the bailiff be sworn in.
Will the foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you're all agreed?
Yes.
On the first count, the offence of cultivating cannabis, do you find the accused guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
On the second count, permitting premises to be used for the smoking of cannabis, do you find the accused guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Morris Downing was found guilty on both counts and was given a 6-month sentence, suspended for 2 years on each count. The sentences to run concurrently. He was also fined £250 on each count.